friends. Pleasure to meet all of you. Can't wait to play with you.
Okay, yes. Well met, honest gentles all. Welcome back to You Are Legion, the D&D game where you, the audience, get to join in and be part of the story as the voices inside one of the heads of our players. Because in this game, you are Legion. My name is Coy. I'm going to be your game master today, and I am joined by I have insert adjective here, cast of players. We have Claire Hogan playing as the Kender Cleric of Knowledge, Arlie Kendlewick III, and Sean Boyd playing as Aelric Diamaticus, the last true Dragonborn. And a most celebratory welcome to our special guest, Kat Letwin. Welcome, Kat. Round of applause. I don't know, where do we know you from? We don't have enough of an audience for me to be like, we know you from the most, I don't do research, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, I can do like a full people may remember me from such films as Lead Paint, delicious but deadly.
Hi!
First time joining all of you here. Very excited to be here. If you live in Toronto, chances are you've seen me probably at a comedy show, performing, and also just attending. Or I do a lot of theater in Toronto, and then also maybe you've seen me on such shows as Brawl Stars, which is on Bell 5 television, or perhaps in the movie Diamond Tongues, starring the lead singer literally from Gillette Talk. Or perhaps you've heard me on such podcasts as Dum Dums and Dragons as not Peter Baelish, or my most recent episode with the Fandom Show, where I go for a long time talking about Stardew Valley. Anyway, it's me, Cal Letwin. Lovely to see y'all.
Thank you. What a great intro, Kat. I'm in the back frantically being like, upper levels. The chat says she's not loud enough. I hope you are not loud enough. But that was an incredible introduction. I need one of those people I need a guy in the chair. That's what I need. I need a guy in the chair. Welcome to streaming, I guess.
Andy Richter is what you're saying.
Does Andy Richter do computers? That'd be my question.
You know what? He looks like a guy who does computers. I'm just talking for myself.
Right? He looks like he's one of those guys. Let me just can I get a mic? I'm gonna get one final mic check level from you, Kat, if I
sure.
can.
Is this sounding okay? This is where my level's at. How are people hearing us? How are we doing?
Yeah, you're coming in good for me, but I think it's just coming in a little low.
Oh my god. People are saying I'm soft in the audio. I have never once been described as soft once in my life. This is deeply disturbing.
This is offensive.
I'm so sorry, Alberta.
Still very soft. I'm having kind of blown out. So I'm getting very loud on my end. Sorry, guys. I have a crazy idea because I didn't realize until I turned around. We are missing a couple of people today. We are missing, tragically, Harold and Thaddeus. Which leaves us with a very interesting pair because there's in-character history between these two that we have always tiptoed around exploring a little bit more. But that would kind of involve, I guess it would be like a flashback type of episode, if that makes sense, Kat. And a little bit more silly improv. If that's something, I don't know if you're the type of person who'd be into silly improv. Yeah, is that something that Kat Letwin is into? What do you guys say about looking a little bit into the past of your time in the Cleric's Tower?
And that's fine with me. That's really the Cleric show right there, man. She's gonna be running and gunning the whole time. She's gonna know, she's gonna have to come up on the spot with the entire layout of that thing. So I'm gonna be tugged along. So I am good to go.
The Claire show. Oh. Man.
Sorry, and also did you say that it was the Cleric's Tower?
Yeah.
Ooh. Never put that together before, yeah.
And the clerics
All
are my
right. Well,
favorite
I've had a
class.
great time with you today. I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.
Go out and leave them laughing. That's right.
No, well, let's give some grounding, and this is just fun for welcome to our crazy world and extended universe that is You Are Legion, and this group of players. We did a little opening prologue that I kind of like wrote randomly to be on an airship that was attacked by a dragon, and then it crashed, and they had to protect some of the like the people who survived the wreck. And they went out and like did a little adventure. It was like a 2 or 3 episode arc, and then afterwards all the different players kind of went in their own directions and then came back for the beginning of the adventure. And so some of them have known each other and not seen each other in some time, and some of them have been together. Arlie and Aelric, our Kender and Dragonborn, decided to go back together, and they spent like a year or two. It's always been kind of unclear. Couple years, because it's not important in the story, at the
Your world, dude. Your world.
I mean, until it's has to be important, it's like flux. Like that's just until someone turns the light of quantum observation onto it. It's amorphous. Getting a little. So you guys spent some time
I think you liked how you were sounding there, and I would agree with you on
it.
that.
It almost hit the right way. Yeah, thank you. So the way that it works in our world is because the gods disappeared, as we mentioned. The clerics kind of became disconnected from any deities. So the entire like order of clerics became kind of disempowered. And what they did to remain in power was they were always used, one of their many uses, was to like seal a contract as like a god observed this contract, right? Like, when you sign a contract observed by a god, that's like held by the gods. And the clerics could do that. But when the gods disappeared, they couldn't really do it physically anymore or like practically, but what they could do is they could still follow through with like the paperwork of it. Which is what a lot of administrations would be like, yeah, get a cleric to like seal a contract, and then you're good. And it's like in a lot of guild like paperwork, it's like, yeah, that's what you need. So they just ended up becoming lawyers. Over 300 years, they ended up just like delving into law and developing into this like
so
order
all the
of
clerics
lawyers.
just became Erics. I hear you. Okay.
Erics. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they just pulled the C down from. So they had. And where they train is this tower, this like the clerics' tower, where they all train. And that land that is owned by the clerics' tower, because it's like still feudal, happens to be run by a Kender family. The kind of contract they signed when they got control of this land was that one Kender must always be serving at the tower.
One Candlewick.
One Candlewick.
Can't be any Kender. It must be a member of the Candlewick family, who are what are they called? Landed gentry?
There you go. Yeah.
The
rulers
they are
of the land.
A ruler, like they are, and Kender are not like really known for owning anything or living anywhere particular. They're kind of like the way that I feel like they're like the way they portray the hobbits, and they are not the hobbits, but like the new Rings of Power show has like the Hobbit predecessors. And I think
That's
Kender
very Kender
are very part of that sort of. I mean that fantasy, the early that combination of like elves and fairies and God. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't have the Tolkien download coming through real clear here. But anyway, yeah,
it's okay. There's an app for that. You'll be fine.
There's an app for there is somewhere.
But so yeah, the
yes.
Kender like known for being like maligned under stereotypes of being tricksters and thieves and free spirits. They're small, they're like halflings. Look more elvish, like lithe compared to halflings, like stockiness. But there happens to be one group, the Candlewicks, that own this plot of land that happens to have the Cleric's Tower in it, which happens to, there happens to exist this contract under ruling the land that cleric tower occupies. That one candlewick must always be there. Insert or enter stage left our resident candlewick, Arlie, who didn't want to be there but ended up kind of being forced there. And after being actually touched by a god, the god of knowledge, in the library there, well, you describe how she, after.
Sure. I feel like I really wanted to play off the whole, the first son inherits the farm, and the second son goes into the military, and the third one, I guess, becomes a priest, or the third, So that's where Juniper Arlie Candlewick the third. That's kind of like where her lot in life fell, and then she spent 10 years just becoming like librarian basically, until like one day all the things that they're reading about what the cleric's tower used to do actually happened to her, and it was the god Zivelin that showed up to her in a dream, in a very real feeling dream, like they are, and he is the Prin god, or the dragon.
The world tree. Yeah, the world tree. It's like the world tree, the god of wisdom. And through that connection, Arlie was able to like talk her way into.
So there's they used to have a wandering cleric, and the wandering cleric represented the clerics out in the world, but the wandering cleric had to be a real cleric as well, and so she was able to be like, "Excuse me, I'm a real cleric now," and they were like, "You're a what?" And she was like, "No, I'm a real cleric now. You have to let me go wander. It's in section 4.22b." So you have to. I have healing powers. You have to let me wander, and be the wandering cleric. And she. So they let her. And as far as she knows, as far as she thinks she outsmarted them. Maybe the clerics have their own reasons for letting her go. Unclear, but she.
True.
Like maybe they just didn't like her anyway.
She made her presence there very annoying, but as annoying as she could, as sort of her personal mission. So it's
all right. So it's not the scandals one is making. Okay.
She was able to talk her way out, and that's how she ended up on this airship, which was our prologue. But then after the airship, for whatever reason, she chose to return back, and she brought with her Aelric, which is a good opportunity to introduce Aelric, because he's not just any schlub. Aelric Tiamaticus, the last true-born dragonborn, basically.
Yes. So to the knowledge of everyone in the party, and certainly to Aelric, Aelric was in a clan, a Blue Dragon clan of that was living in the desert south of where the campaign is currently taking place, and then some unknown force when he was but a babe, fresh out of the egg, or whatever. I don't know how Dragonborn come into the.
Done.
Sure, well, I mean,
just FYI, like I'm playing like a live D&D thing with like some friends of mine, like IRL, and we've had the exact same discussion. I'm a copper dragonborn in it, and we're just like, so do I come from eggs? Do I have a cloaca? What's going on? Anyway, so it's fine. These are good questions.
Yeah. So yes, until quite recently, he's been more, I would say, more human looking than not. But because we were in the Feywilds, things have changed. But in any event, he was saved by another Dragonborn. The rest of his entire clan was destroyed. His uncle, is this other Dragonborn, called himself. Aelric doesn't even know if it was his uncle. He just calls him his uncle. Raised him, taught him how to fight, taught him about his lineage. They were at a keep when the attack happened, but then they basically went back to a cave that served as like a primordial keep, kind of like a prehistory keep from when the Dragonborn of his clan, well, all Dragonborn really, were kind of like making their way in the world, discovering kind of like what it meant to be kind of two-legged, being a hybrid, like all of those types of things. And so they had this little cave that served as like the clan's basic keep at the time, but it was a cave, right? So very much in the root of still being dragons. and then they went back there. The uncle took Aelric back there, and then Aelric spent the next 25 years basically there, training, learning about his own history and everything like that. And then his uncle died, right, leaving Aelric alone. And so he had to make a choice to basically figure out, or he could stay there, or he could go out into the world. And so he decided to go out in the world to see, one, if there are any other Dragonborn. He had always been told that there were not, but he wanted to kind of see for himself. So he left the family lands, all the clan lands, and the kind of the habitat of the Dragonborn, historically the habitat of the Dragonborn, and basically proceeded north. And everyone confused him for a lizard man, because it'd been so long since anybody had seen a Dragonborn that they'd just kind of been lost to history. And at the time, now Aelric has wings, but where this part of the campaign will be set, he does not. The Feywilds have changed him, and so he has sprouted wings, and his tail has started to become more functional, for want of a better term. I mean, it was always there, I guess, just more prehensile, I guess. But all these changes are happening to him, and he doesn't really fully understand what's going on, because there's no history that he knows of any Dragonborn having wings or any of that stuff. He speaks Draconic. He speaks Common, because he was able to kind of, under the guise of being a lizard man, kind of expose himself to the races of the mammals, right? The mammalian races of the world, and kind of like stumbled his way into passage on this airship where he met the party. It was kind of like down in the Sturridge when the airship was attacked. But it was after that, when everything kind of went down, and the dragon then crashed the airship, and everyone collapsed into the land of Krynn below, that after that battle was done, the party kind of separated, and that's what Boy is talking about. The Kender basically took, if you'll forgive the pun, took him under his wing and just like drug him to the Kender lands to kind of like educate him about the world, because he was so kind of hapless, even though he'd had a little bit of time. I mean, he'd been like, it took him a while to get out of the deserts, but he'd been in this, you know, in the northern areas where we are in the party for about 6 months when all this went down. So, you know, he's still quite young, right? He's in his late 20s. He's still he doesn't really have many social skills. So he's relying on a lot of the party's development for his development, right? So it's a pretty challenging time. And if we're going back to when this is, it's actually even, you know, he's 26 basically, right? So he's even like less. Yeah. He's less refined. He doesn't really understand the ins and outs of.
It was kind of the montage. Structure. Yeah, we use this kind of time as the montage to get past that whole like, he comes from a different land and doesn't understand the culture, and like, okay, so therefore we want to move past all of those, like, but what would you call this thing? This interesting thing, like, you're like, okay, we don't need that.
Very much like
the Kender takes the. What's that? I'm sorry, ran right over you there, Kat.
Sorry, I was doing a Simpsons reference, and that's why I was steamrolling both of you. I'm so sorry. Oh. Like, but Aquaman, you cannot marry a girl without fins. You're from two different worlds.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's a good one. That's a good poll. But
excellent.
So she yanks, kind of, you know, by hook or by crook. He actually goes pretty willingly, because she's kind. He doesn't know what the hell's going on, so he goes. But he's, you know. Well,
let's start us off there, because this is we're playing a special game here, because we just have us four. So there was a time when everyone kind of separated, and Arlie and Aelric. I think there was a time when everyone kind of walked away, and we're like, okay, we got the people to the safe place. Great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
great.
Right.
Okay, so see you. Okay, have a good one. Good, nice to meet you. We killed those giant spiders. Cool. And Aelric and Arlie just kind of find themselves walking in the same direction. And at a certain point, maybe they turn together, or maybe, you know, but there's going to come to a point when when they officially have to confirm they're traveling together. And I think in a world like this, it makes sense. Imagine, if you will, a feudal checkpoint that's also where horses are changed. Because when messengers ride horses, they'll ride the horse to death unless they change the horse every while. So these kind of mini stables act as opportunities for horse riders to change their horse, and also an opportunity for a kind of security protection and gatekeeping throughout provinces along highways. This has been standard throughout, European and Japanese and Chinese feudal systems. I'm sure many others. So along one of
Yeah,
these,
and it's also just cool to know how to kill a horse.
if you need to, yeah, just ride them till they're dead, or chase
As
them.
you were. I'm so sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
So at one of these stops, you're in Solamnia. Like, this is now like a more regional, like kind of remote region. But this is the first time that you would come to an official government checkpoint. Now, at this point, a couple months in, Aelric, my first question to you would be, as you're coming up to this checkpoint, have you ever gone through one of these checkpoints officially? Have you snuck through? Have you avoided them?
Aelric would have avoided. I mean, the only time he actually I think we've covered this actually. The only time he actually integrated himself into kind of mammalian society was to get supplies or food or something like that. So he always stayed on the outskirts of towns, always stayed on the outskirts of government, always stayed on the outskirts of everything, unless there was just a huge call for it, right? So it seems unlikely that he would have ever like put himself in a place where he would have come across
So
this.
this is perfect. Perfect. I think we might have just lost Kat for a second, but what I'm thinking is, as Aelric sees this gate, there's going to be a hesitation and kind of looking for, like, what's the opportunity to get around this? Have I gotten too far? Can I slow down and turn around without making myself suspicious? At which point you see who's already at the gate and currently engaged in active debate with one of the guardsmen, a young character that you recognize from the airship. Kat, did you get that, or did I lose you during this last? Oh, you're just muted. You're muted.
It sounds like she just got something to eat and drink.
She just got something.
I just got some water. That's it.
Okay.
I heard everything though. Thank you.
Oh, amazing. Because I was wondering if you're willing, as Aelric notices Arlie engaged in debate with this guardsman, I'm happy to throw you the stick on playing this suspicious guardsman.
You want me to play the suspicious guardsman? I can do that.
Yeah. So, Claire, this is Arlie and Aelric, like, leaving the region of the airship crashed. Everyone was saved. You were brought to some small town to save them. Then you ended up on a road. You and Aelric kind of both going in the same direction, whether or not you intended to. This is kind of awkward. We're still in that stage of, like, maybe we're a few hundred meters apart because I don't know when they're turning and we don't have much to talk about.
Okay, so this is, I haven't been fully like, you're coming with me. Like, we haven't had that.
This might be that moment. Because, Aelric comes to one of these, like, gates, these kind of waypoints along the King's Road in Solamnia, and he hesitates, thinking maybe he'll try to find a way around it, and sees you already locked in conversation with one of the guards keeps. Maybe this is that moment when the two of you kind of decided to formally travel together.
Okay, so go ahead. You ask the question first.
No, I was just curious about the establishment of it. These are just, Coy, in your mind, these are just sort of way posts along the Solamnic roads. There's guards towers.
Oh, this is like the
There's-
the horses, like it's a horse, like where they keep horses along the road. So if you're taking a letter from the king to an outer province and they go immediately, the king has to send a messenger who has to ride a horse, and that horse would die if it rode the whole way. So it has to change horses along the way, which means you need preset stables down the road that are ready with horses that are ready to run in either direction. So it's kind of like the bike shares that we use in modern cities, but like on a larger scale. It's kind of effectively what it is. It's like bike sharing.
I'm actually personally like really sick of the fact that we got rid of all of our horse shares in Toronto.
Yeah, right.
Really,
Wouldn't it be great to
really
just like drop
pounding
off a
them,
horse
really
and be
nuts.
like,
Yeah.
pick up a horse and like ride down? Yeah. So these stables are also opportunities to be waypoints because someone has to be there to take care of the horses. So that person also has to be on the road. That person might as well check the ID of people walking through the road. So it's like a double duty. But yes, they're kind of these interspersed along the main arteries of the kingdom because these are the protected roads. Yeah.
All right, and you want me playing the guard for this? I got you.
Like, yeah, if you're down to, I think it's fun to. I'm interested in the moment when Arlie and Aelric like formally were like, yeah, we're traveling together. We're going to a place together as two people. You know, that moment.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm here talking with Arlie, and I'm just like, right, but as well, you know, you have to have a passenger permission in order to get through this road. Now that was a huge airship collision that had just happened. Like I'm doing my job. Can you at least help me make my job easier on you?
It's just that I couldn't possibly make your job one iota easier because this symbol, this is the wandering cleric from the cleric's tower. It literally means that I wander around. That's literally what it means.
Okay, all right. Oh, you're talking to me about fancy symbols and whatnot. Okay.
Right, it's a really well-known symbol. I can probably find one of your horses. Probably even has on one of the. It's an incredibly common. I mean, like, what is the word? Insignia. It's on a lot of documents. If you have a single bit of mail, do you have a little bit of mail? Perhaps just one letter sent, and I'm not asking to open the mail because I am aware that would absolutely be illegal. So I'm not asking for that. I'm just, if you have any mail, you will very likely see a stamp from the cleric's tower, and then you will recognize the wandering cleric symbol that I'm wearing that tells you that I'm the Candlewick of the cleric's tower. And if do you have any mail? The best. I mean, not you personally, but perhaps there's a pony delivering satchel of written letters. Look, we send out a lot of taxes and bills. We're very unpopular, but you will see the cleric's tower. Well, we don't send them out, but we enforce the payments. We let people know that the fact that they have failed
Just
to
FYI,
pay.
the guard is just looking at you with crossed arms and looking more and more insulted the more you talk. Please keep going.
Good. Look, I've seen this face before. Oh, actually, almost all the time. So
Yeah, Arlie, as you see like the tightening and creaking leather of the crossed arms, you gotta look around for support or like escape and lock eyes with this large blue dragonborn who's coming down the road towards this block that you found yourself at.
Now, as a reminder, at this point, he was still trying to pass as a lizard man, so
Yeah.
he's like hooded, long red cloak. So you recognize him, but yeah, just to give you with the images of him when he's there.
Incognito. Like a bodybuilder walking incognito. Don't
Yeah,
look.
I once met Triple H at a Boston market. I know exactly how this goes.
I would like to make some kind of like perception check. Like I'm basically being like
Yeah.
a social cluelessness check. Because
Yeah, you're
she's
doing
like,
real bad, man.
she's like this close to just being like, Elric, my dragonborn friend. You know what I mean? So like if she could just I just want to give her a perception check to just kind of clock like because they've gone through the little adventure, they've saved the airship.
Yeah.
So I just want to see. I don't know what DC you want to set for this boy, but just for Arlie to like.
For your own, this is a
Socially
DC
fluid.
for your own capacity
Yeah,
to
if I
not
fail it-
narc on Elric.
Yeah.
Is this what...
To
I
not
thi-
like to notice that what Sean's just described, like to notice that.
Oh, to notice that like
Eric
he's
is traveling,
trying
like,
to stay.
to have,
Okay,
like, a low profile.
give me an insight check. This is so what you're doing is this is an insight into reading into what he's wearing as like not just like, oh cool, bro's like bro's training. He's got his hoodie up, like he's in his travel mode. But to actually read into like, oh, he's trying not to be recognized. He's trying to stay incognito right now. Like reading
Right.
into how he's wearing his clothes. Okay.
'Cause-
Yeah. Give me an insight check. For you, I'm going to say it's DC 12.
She would be a little lower level than I can roll. Okay. Okay, so it's saying that I haven't connected it to Foundry, but it's a 23.
Oh, 23. So you pass. Yeah. It's a bit hot to be wearing a hoodie and like, wait, oh, something connects the dots.
So she's gonna start out with like, ale is what I'd really like to drink right now. Good sir, have you? I'm very thirsty. I'll be right back. And then she's
Gonna walk like 5 steps away to like fully within earshot of the guard as Elric is coming over.
Yeah, the guard literally just goes. What the?
Amazing. Yeah. So we get this like straight up like cartoon as if like we get the Arlie walking to meet Aelric and we're gonna have this conversation and then it's just gonna pan over and reveal the guard right here, just standing just right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I start snacking on an apple that was meant for one of the horses.
Fully.
Like, no problem.
Yeah. You can take part in this conversation at any point. You are effectively a part of it. Yeah. Arlie and Aelric.
like, Eric, I don't know where you're. You remember me from the flying boat. I don't know where you're going or how you're going to get through, but I have not successfully conveyed my identity. So I'm just curious about how you're going to handle this. I have a very well-known, very proper identity. I don't know if you know. I missed that. What'd you say?
I said she doesn't.
I'm
And Aelric looks
literally
at-
a noble.
Aelric looks up at the guard and then looks back down and says, "Until I saw you, I was going to go around. But now I feel that we have to go through."
Going around.
Oh, you know
Just
what?
go
In all
around.
fairness, that's kind of like you could just go around. That's actually this is a terrible shit. But it's not my fault. It's my boss's fault. It's typical bad management, you know. And keep talking. Keep wagging.
I was so focused on how horrifying it is that this servant of the realm has never heard of the Candlewicks or the Cleric's Tower. Our education system must be reformed.
Or perhaps your family must try harder.
Sorry to interrupt once more. So sorry. This guy gets it. Oi, what's your name, mate?
Aelric,
Elric. Oi, nice to meet you. I'm Steve. Now, listen. Elric, I can hardly see your face. Why don't you pull that hood back? You seem like a nice fella, eh?
I feared my scars would change your opinion.
He's really mangled. Just real nasty looking mangled face.
Gonna have to give me a deception check on that.
How'd you get mangled then, eh?
She'll keep playing.
fighting.
I understand. I gets it. Yeah, as you can see, and then Steve just pulls back his glove and just shows like this really, like very small scar on the back of his hand. He's like, yeah, no, I got this. Me not from a fight. I was trying to open a can of peaches with a knife, but I get how scars work, and it can hurt you, not just physically, but emotionally.
And Elric, in maybe the very first time of wisdom, says, "A wound is a wound."
Steve immediately tears up. Just immediately. Steve has never been talked to this gently before. The apple Steve is holding gently falls from his hand onto the ground, and for the first time he can feel exactly how the acidic juices sting his hand. And he looks at Elric and says, "You may have the scars of a warrior, but you have the soul of a poet. You should just go around, otherwise I gotta check your ID."
So Elric turns to Arlie and wordlessly just kind of nods in the direction that he was going to originally take to go around into the woods and just starts walking.
Wow.
Steve, you can't see it because your back's are to him, but he salutes you, and eventually Steve actually starts writing poetry himself.
Oh wow.
That's a hell of an art for Steve.
Steve.
That's Steve, baby.
Wow, Steve touched all our hearts. That's a great. You could just go around. You have to go around. You need to go
I
around
was
right
just
now.
like, you don't understand how you did that, Elric. That was an incredible amount of diplomacy. You don't understand diplomacy. Admittedly, I ignored all of my tutelage, but I was technically tutored for at least 20 years in the subject, and I wasn't doing very well, I don't think. And that was incredibly skillful, and I am very confused about the fact that you're better at that than I was. I think that there's I know a place where learning happens, and it's where I'm going. But I just learned a lot right there. So I feel like I could learn things from you. And like I just like I can totally picture her being so flummoxed that in the cartoon that we're watching, it's like zoomed in on her like trying to share stuff, and like she's just wandered like Elric's.
Yeah, because I'm just doing a big horseshoe and then coming back, a big crescent moon, and coming back in a little bit. Yeah.
Also, Steve, again, can't hear him because you've left him behind, but he's just like, "At the irony of having a pony stop, and you gotta go in an horseshoe in order to get around. I'm gonna write that down. Maybe that'll be my first poem."
Man, he's just going through it. Steve is going through it, man.
He was doing some good shit.
Steve's got a journey Keen's gonna be envious of. Forget Harold and his stupid list. Let's talk about Steve and his poetry.
Amazing. No, sorry. This is just incredible. This is. I've just been on. I every time I've been like, okay, I guess I'll let me take back. We'll move forward, and I've been on mute, and you just keep going, and I'm like, I guess this is great.
Yeah, let's just keep going.
Let's keep going. This and thus, what is it? I know a place where learning happens. Put that on a T-shirt. I know a place where learning happens.
Where he can get a space of when he can get some air in, he says, "I think I can learn from you first. What is diplomacy?"
Well, you just did it. You just did it really well. You managed to convince someone who was sort of under the impression that he was an authority figure. You managed to convince him that we didn't need to show him our ID or our papers for passage through the realm, and you handled it without decapitating him. So therefore, it was a diplomatic handling of the situation instead of a brute force kind of handling of the situation, which makes it diplomatic and remarkably civilized and successful and clever. So,
Arlie, I think at a certain point you kind of realize one of the best ways to maybe try this out, I don't think science is necessarily a formalized methodology in the land that we live in, but there's going to be another opportunity to test this diplomacy of your newfound friend, and or show, either showcase his as a way of example or potentially showcase yours, however you would choose. It's going to be another 8 hours or so of walking before you get to the next point where you're actually, anyone's going to question either of you. You do notice, Arlie, that walking in the sometimes literal shadow of Aelric, you get a lot less frequent random questions from people on the street. Most you find it's a much quieter experience and more contemplative, if that makes sense.
Interesting, Elric. I find that all of the things that I really hated about the Cleric's Tower, sort of the contemplative, quiet environment, I really don't mind them when they're just happening because people are afraid of you. I actually quite enjoy a fear-induced quietude and presence and peace of mind.
I have noticed that the mammal kind leaves me alone.
Great.
As you come to the next waypoint, Arlie, how do you choose to approach this next waypoint?
Arlie adjusts her cleric's robes, like she wears like kind of like a friar tuck, kind of. I don't know the right words for anything, so I just have to use cartoon imagery. But
Yeah.
like the brown and the rope, and a big honkin' cleric's tower symbol, which I picture on the back is her Zivelin tree.
Is that like a Flava Flav sized clock, like clock sized emblem? How big?
Sure. Yes. Yeah, on her it is.
A huge. Oh yeah, because she's small. So on her it's giant. All right, love it. Cool.
So she's just gonna be like, right, Elric, I am going to go first. I'm going to explain who I am, and after I inevitably apparently fail because no one's heard of the Cleric's Tower or the Candlewicks, then you'll step in and I'll learn more diplomacy from you. Maybe we should walk around, but I'm determined.
I was going to offer that we should walk around, but if you are committed, I will certainly follow you.
Okay, fantastic. So this time she's going to try to like make herself look all proper and like I don't know.
Amazing, and you hum your way up to this new border guard who's going through some paperwork.
Good afternoon, good sir. It is.
Hello.
It is in case, and then she just like heaves this neck. I'm picturing that there's some kind of like ledger or some kind of window. She just like heaves the necklace like onto the like or a half stable door. I don't know what it is, but she's just gonna plonk her symbol down on top of whatever if he's reading a book or something. Smack. Be like, this is a symbol of the Cleric's Tower, indicating that I am a wandering cleric. And that's what I'm doing out here. I'm wandering in that direction. And I'd like to go and... What more do you need? I definitely have something with Juniper Arlie Candlewick that they're written down. I think the name in my cloaks.
The name.
And definitely something more formal, but in this moment.
So, you believe just because I'm a god on a stalk here, I don't know who a wandering cleric is, who's a Candlewick? You insulting my intelligence. Of course I know who you are. It's a known and recognized symbol.
I am. So
You just had to show it to
yeah.
me. You didn't have to press it in my face that way. Now, I mean, I know I'm just a humble checkpoint guard, but I clearly know how to read, so I know what symbols mean.
Oh, wonderful! I am thrilled. It's still very new that the knowledge that the wandering cleric is wandering again. So that is fantastic that you are so informed. In fact, I am so delighted that I am going to write a letter of commendation to the cleric's tower, and it will be filed. It won't actually affect your job in any way, but it will be noted that word of the wandering cleric has spread at least as far as here.
You don't have to be condescending about it.
I'm so sorry. That's just sort of
Who you are. Yeah, no, I gathered that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, go ahead. You and your, and then this guard also named Steve.
It's more of a
looks
title.
At your companion. And it's just like, I do have a question about you. I'm afraid I can't let anyone through who doesn't show their face.
And Elric, he pulls the same. He goes to the same quiver because it's worked for him for so long. I'm afraid my scarring would be too much for you.
No, I've seen quite a lot. My mother was a midwife. I've seen terrible things you could never imagine. Go on, show us your face.
I've seen things.
So the cloak kind of looks down at Arlie in the best pleading moment that he can, which clearly you are.
I'm very quickly scrolling my spell book to see. I mean, I don't know what level I'd be at, but I'm like,
First,
do
I think we're
Would have been
level
first
here.
level. This was first level.
So,
This is level 1.
Okay, so I'm looking at my cantrips, and the best I've got it'd be like, do I even have thaumaturgy?
Thaumaturgy.
Yeah,
Just
fire.
remember, this Steve's mother was a midwife, and he has seen horrible things. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Sure
how
has.
distracted the Steve will be.
Well, midwife does it. Yeah, exactly. Midwife plots. I mean, I have no context for the word midwife. Elric has no midwifery history.
I have scrambled eggs.
Elric is not going to use intimidation. He's going to use persuasion.
And I
Okay.
am.
And I am going to. I will roll for that right now. And
Arlie's
I
gonna
will
help?
Yeah,
say-
please do. Yeah.
Arlie's gonna do the help
And
action.
then
Yeah.
Chloe,
roll
like,
for-
could you roll for my stats, or do you want me to take care of that?
Go for it. Yeah.
Steve too.
I am proficient.
Steve,
in
roll for Steve.
persuasion.
Yeah, so you can help him.
I gave the help action. I also, with thaumaturgy, it says you alter the appearance of your eyes for 1 minute. So it's just like the most that I could do would be to give Elric totally not like non-reptilian eyes, just like roundy human eyes.
Yeah.
But it still have a totally. I mean, it says you can alter your appearance. Like theoretically, I could like make him also really scarred. So at
Well,
least
can you alter
he's not
his?
lying.
Can you
He's
alter
just, like-
his appearance or your appearance?
Oh, well, okay. So the things, you're right. It actually does seem to focus this stuff on yourself. I just thought it was like, it does
'Cause
seem
it's
to
a
focus you
cantrip,
stuff on
probably.
yourself.
Probably because it's a
Yeah.
cantrip.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna try to. I'll just
The
try to
help
roll
action.
persuasion. And,
All right, so you're
and
rolling persuasion with
on
advantage.
On the line of, I would rather not show my face. But it's a persuasion. It's not intimidation.
No, yeah, and you got advantage as well.
Did it
I'm
roll?
terribly.
So I'm just gonna
Got a
16.
make up a stat in
16.
my mind.
Yeah, make up a stat in
Okay,
your mind.
so do you mind if I personally roll for Steve? I'm just making up. I know
Not
you
at all,
rolled a
please do.
16. Okay. Okay. Well, Steve
My
here
DC
got
on-
a 9.
Okay.
So Steve, and I like how you pointed out this Steve. His name is spelled Steev. So he understands what it's like to be different. And Steve looks at you. He's like, well, in all fairness, the way that I can read symbols means I can also read souls. I understand what it feels like not to want to be seen. But you specifically, I think your soul wants to be seen. You go ahead on
Sweet
this
moment
job.
between you two, but I think you would love the other Steve. It's very poetic. Anyway, carry on.
Wait, there's another Steve?
I'm sorry, I've interrupted your moment. Yes, there's another Steve. He works just at the other tower, down about 5 clicks that way, and he's just taken to writing poetry about his own uniqueness.
Sorry, I just. It sounds, and then it just like Steve collapses just a little bit onto himself. He's just like, I didn't realize there was also someone named Steve who does the same job
Such a
as
big
me.
world.
But it feels so small sometimes. Just down that way, just down that road.
Just the very next horse stable situation.
Well, I guess that means that if I can beg off time from me boss, well, that means I'm gonna have to write quite a number of letters and hopefully get it all ratified. And I mean, but you're
I can
Candlewick, you know
expedite
how
that
this
for
goes.
you. I can expedite that for you. I am the wandering cleric. In fact, actually, you don't. I can go over your boss. I can simply say, yes, allow me. And she pulls out a parchment. On order of the Cleric's Tower, it is commanded by Juniper Arley Candlewick III. That's
Can we go into a paperwork montage? This is a paperwork montage. This is the fantasy that anyone has about like what you could get done if only you put your nose to the grindstone and did 8 hours of paperwork and multiple rounds of submissions. What does this look like?
Screenwriter's
Steve
dream.
been having a dream.
Waiting in line to submit document S5. Oh, actually, I need Q2. All right, I'll do that one next. Yeah, lots of duplicates, lots of, oh wait, I need to find that document. Where would that be? Oh, it's in the attic. That's where it's with all this other fun stuff.
At one point, all three of us are looking at the same document. I point out a line. At the same time, Elric does. At the same time, Candlewick does. And then we all laugh and laugh.
It's a great old laugh. And then we
I
fade.
never still see Elric's face this entire time.
Well, no,
It's the
you're
whole
having too
time.
much fun now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole. It's the whole, because it's like, thank you very much for your sensitivity around my friend's unique soul.
Disgusting
And
face.
enjoy
I
your
wink.
day.
I'm not sure if it's seen, but I still wink.
So this
I
time,
love
Elric
it.
does not go around. Elric does go through since Steve said that we could go through. Elric
Yeah.
goes
So
through.
after all of this, we have our great paperwork montage. All of this is set forth, and then now I actually have secured time off. Remember, we're basically living in it's not a peerage system, but we're living in like very medieval kind of serfdom. So the
Yeah.
fact that I actually now documented have time off, and it means I can go back to my job, so I can meet this other person who also has my job, also named Steve, but I hear he has the soul of a poet. And honestly, this Steve didn't realize how much he needed it. So as soon as we're done, I watch
this-
you leave through the roads, and I wave at your backs, and I set off my own self just as my replacement is coming by.
Yeah,
His
your
name
place.
is Paul.
Yeah, Paul's
Oh,
like,
thank God.
Paul comes up. All right, Steve, have a good time off.
It's crazy. These people came through. Did you know there's someone else named Steve who works our job and he lives
you
down
met-
the
yeah,
road?
Steve-
Apparently, also kind of sounds like me.
The Steve who lives down the road kind of sounds like you, don't it, Steve?
No, I'm actually going to go meet him. Apparently, he's writing poetry now.
Oh, well. Yeah, that sounds pretty good, isn't it? Well, have a great time there, Steve. Meet the other Steve.
Oh, I will. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Maybe grab a pint once I'm back. Maybe I'll bring Steve with me.
Oh, yeah, bring round Steve. We'll have a couple of pints with Steve and Steve. Should be good.
Sounds great. My life has changed for the better.
And as you turn and walk away, there's like three cartloads with like 6 horses each just come through. And Paul's like, yeah, how you doing? Come on through. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's what Steve would have done. Yeah.
Magic as well. The way that choosing persuasion when clearly intimidation is something that I think you could probably do pretty easily. Very cool. Very, yes. I am learning.
I have learned that the mammal kind will fight anytime provoked. So
Right. And it's not really a thing. I've never been intimidating, so I have to be persuasive. Because I can be sort of, as the tall ones say, punted in a direction. So I have to be persuasive, but I think it is admirable to have stature and still choose persuasion.
I sometimes have to use intimidation. And when that fails, then he just like puts his hand on the hilt of his sword. We should find a place to camp.
Right, yes, we certainly will not make it to the cleric's tower before dark.
Yeah, where would you stay? Where would you guys stay on the road? I mean, Arlie, you have money, I assume, right?
Having a noble background, I think, means that
Yeah.
like
You can
inns
stay
and stuff
anywhere.
open up to me. Like I think people have to share their house. It's like it is very feudal. It's like
Wait,
open up,
what does it say exactly? 'Cause
I was
that is actually
about
really
to say,
funny.
yeah, like literally because of your title and because you're essentially gentry. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna pull up. Thanks to your noble birth, people are inclined to think the best of you. You are welcome in high society, and people assume you have the right to be wherever you are. The common folk make every effort to accommodate you and avoid your displeasure, and other people of high birth treat you as a member of the same social sphere. You can secure an audience with a local noble if you need to. Okay, so it doesn't say you can secure lodging. That's probably a folk hero thing. But
I think that's a folk hero thing, actually. Yeah, that is a folk hero thing. I mean, because I was gonna be like, all right, I want to see Arlie just walk into some
I mean, she still
farmer's
can.
house, just like, you're gonna keep me up for the night. Like, thank you so much. No, but I mean, if you want it, would you spend money if you could? Do you think it would be an
Yeah.
eventful evening, or would you kind of continue on the road at this point, trying to stay? I guess the rest of the road back to the tower. Do you think there would have been any other exciting adventures or noteworthy occurrences?
Pull up a map of Kryn. How about I'm like
I think it
curious
depends.
about-
I think it depends on like how. Like I mean, Aelric's roughing it most of the way. So part of that is because of him and his visage and everything like that. But part of it too is it's just like dangerous, man. Like you know what I mean? There's still, I mean, it's not like law is set that I remember, but maybe I'm wrong to remember it that way. So I mean, it would seem to me like at least there would be an opportunity to find wandering something, whether that's a party or a beastie, I don't know, or another Steve. If we could just have another Steve, maybe that
Just
would be.
give me one more Steve. One more Steve. But I think there was definitely more fun little interactions as the two of you traveled, from inn to inn and through some more of these checkpoints and this sort of thing, more of the same as you're kind of getting to know each other. I think one of the most interesting moments would have been when the wandering cleric came home. Because as Claire mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this is one of those things that the long-standing members of the Cleric's Tower have their own opinions as to Arlie talking her way out. And she kind of forced her way out through a technicality, but now that she's coming back, I think that was always a very interesting decision from her behalf. And I think we're about 8:50. I want to get into that next scene of Arlie arriving at the tower, but I also think we can do a little bit of an early bio break, so we can all just go grab what we need to grab. So we're 8:53. Why don't we say we get back at 9:15? Yeah, get a solid little break.
Okay.
Yeah.
9:15 sounds great.
9:15. Thank you, everyone. Exactly, because everyone enjoy themselves, take their time. It's a chilled out, get to know you type of vibe.
Cool. Thanks.
Go meet a
I
Steve.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Meet a Steve.
A group of heroes emerge forged in history. Google the Owen Ranger, skilled and true. Tad the wizard, casting spells on you. Harold the halfling, nimble as can be. Sneaking through shadows, heroic so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold. Healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure. United they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land. Through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. From Shakstar he came, Elric's in his wake. Enemies crumble when their bravery breaks. Questing for glory through lands afar, guided by the storm, following fate's star. Through the flames, through the flames.
Hoist up the sails, let the winds take a grip. For Thaddeus Turnpike commands his ship. For Lord of the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. Behold, Thaddeus sailed the endless sea, with little Bubo as wise as can be. Through tempest and tide, they roam far and wide. The Turnpike legacy, their unfading pride. From the mighty Turnpike line he hails, with the lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers fierce and grand, with the smell on his lips and the sword in his hand. Behold Thaddeus, master of the smell, with little Bubo through heaven and hell. They dance with the stars, they flirt with the dew, their laughter echoes in the ocean's blue. An owl for his mate, little Bubo's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Bubo, his talents wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Bubo in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt-laden air, the Turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journey's just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart. So sing of that Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart.
Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Bubo the Olin Ranger, skilled and true. Tad the wizard, casting spells on you. Harold the halfling, nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and roads so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Legends of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Bubo the Olin Ranger, skilled and true. Tad the wizard, casting spells on you. Harold the halfling, nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and roads so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, dreams of clerics so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend.
From Shuckstar he came, Elric's in his wake. Enemies crumble when their bravery breaks. Questing for glory through lands afar, guided by the storm, follow we fate's star. Through the flames, through the flames.
Hoist up the sails, let the winds take a clip. 'Twas Thaddeus Turnpike commands his ship. For good of the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. He bold Thaddeus sailed the endless sea, with little Bilbo as wise as can be. Through tempest and tide, they roam far and wide. The Turnpike legacy, their unfading pride. From the mighty Turnpike line he hails, with a lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers his mate, little Bubo's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Bubo, his talons wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Bubo in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt laden air, the turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart. So sing of that turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart.
Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Bubo the Olin Ranger, skilled and true, Tad the wizard casting spells on you. Harold the halfling, nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and roads so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend. Magic and mystery, a group of heroes emerge forged in history. Bubo the Olin Ranger, skilled and true, Tad the wizard casting spells on you. Harold the halfling, nimble as can be, sneaking through shadows and roads so sly. Harley the kender with a heart of gold, healing wounds, a cleric so bold. Visions of the adventure, united they stand, 5 heroes strong. The fate of the land, through dungeons and dragons they'll fight till the end. Together they rise, their power will transcend.
From Shanghai he came, Elric stands tall, exiled from the shadows, hearing the dragon's call. Blades in hand, justice his only creed. Through blood and thunder, he sets the captives free. From Shutstar he came, Elric's in his wake.
Time, and we're back. Audio's back. Video's back. We are back in the internet, streaming live from places unknown. I just wanted to jump back in because we want to honor the time of our audience and of our guests and of our players. But yeah, thank you everyone for taking part in this silly. We're just going to change things last minute and have some fun that we decided to do with Arlie and Aelric's backstory. I wanted to jump into the next kind of milestone. I think in my mind there's two major milestones. There's a beginning and an end, as all good stories have, and some of them have a middle, and that one we might discover through as we tell our beginning. But I think the two important things are the beginning and the end that we're starting with, which is Arlie and Aelric arriving at the tower, and then about a year or two later, Arlie and Aelric leaving the tower.
So I want to say that just because in our audience we have one of the players who originally played one of the NPCs, because Sean and I have role played Arlie and Eric arriving at the tower, and then it was Keen and Alberta doing what are they called? Robert's Rules.
Robert's Rules.
Robert's Rules. Yeah.
Robert's Rules. They were just playing. I mean, and they did an amazing job of playing bureaucracy.
Really,
We didn't finish the scene. We had a hard stop in the middle of it, but it was a great first interpretation of their arrival.
And as we've already established, there's unlimited variations in multiple realities and multiverses and timelines in our world. So we can always even do the same scene twice, because that's because who cares? It's a game. We're telling stories. Yeah, I guess I'll have a question for our guest, for Kat. By the time Arlie and her traveling companion had arrived at the tower, at the cleric's tower, they're traveling by foot, so word has preceded them at this point. Would they have been met like at the door, outside the door? Was it just business as usual, like deal with them when they come?
Oh, that's a really great question, especially if their reputation precedes them. Mm-hmm. So, for example, for Aelric, like, how many people have seen his face?
So let me sketch a little scene right now. We have a large room with old oak timbers and hard stone floors, and the little pattering of soft-soled shoes as they scamper across to the head most important cleric at his desk. As this little panting scribe comes to you, there's further news of the traveling cleric arriving with companion traveling in this direction.
So I am sitting at this desk. This sweet pitter patter has brought me this news, right? Now, I'm what could be described as a mid-level manager at best.
Nice.
So I'm there, and this could go one of two ways for me. So either I could be finding myself, let's say, promoted, or if I make the wrong decision, I will never climb this ladder that we call both life and chaos. So what information has been brought to me?
Information brought to you currently is that Arlie has been traveling consistently through multiple checkpoints back in the direction of the Cleric's Tower. She's traveling with a hooded companion. There are you cannot find through any of the checkpoints she has traveled through not a single verification of this person's identification. It seems as if it's always somehow not asked, or the paperwork's missing, or there's some sort of bureaucratic snagglefu, or sometimes they just like skip gates where like there's no registration of them passing through a certain gate.
no, they figured out how to go around, didn't they?
Yeah, this is gonna have to escalate that issue of actually preventing going around. But that's, at this point, all you have is this like steady update of she's getting closer, she hasn't changed course. And the last gate that just comes to you is the gate that takes her off the main road, which means she's clearly not just passing by. So she's now 100% coming to the tower.
Well, I think maybe this is the one time they don't go around. All right. And I look at the minions who are around me. I don't call them minions out loud because I know that's rude.
But they know what they are.
But they are. They right. However, I also understand what decorum is, and Steve spelt with a PH. Look at all of them, and I say, I want to thank you for your work. Thank everyone. Eyes. Thank you for your work.
She's talking to all. I think it's kind of all of us. I think she's kind of talking to all of us. But she didn't really make eyes with all of us. It's more of like, I mean, she hit the horizon line. It's more of like a point of focus. You know, as we look at her, she looks at like one point. You know, but I just feel like I missed out on like my specific time. There's hundreds of us, man. She can't make eye contact with each one of us.
Eyes here, please. Thank you. There'll be time enough for talking later. Now is clearly the time for action. Now, this is serious stuff. And Steve with the PH is about to say my friends, but also they know that's not the deal there. But Steve, my God, does stuff by the book. And the fact that these two people, this Arlie and this Alric, have somehow gone past all the levels of bureaucracy that we have set up in order to stop people from accessing this tower, and yet they've managed to circumnavigate this. Well, in a good society, this can't stand. We have rules for a reason. So I, Steve with a PH, will decide whether or not they can enter where they wish to have access to. And this is a huge deal for Steve with the PH. Steve with the PH understood what it was like to be a minion. They started out from the same level as these people around him. And this is going to be a big decision. What Steve with the PH knows is whatever he decides will not only seal perhaps the fate of the kingdom, but certainly his own fate as a mid-level manager.
Now, we've had a lot of like introspective thoughts of Steve. I'm really getting to get a sense of who Steve with a PH is. I love that, but I want to just take a moment from the third person. It doesn't have to be omniscient, but what does Steve look like?
Oh, he looks like a Steve.
Just like what you'd expect. He looks like a Steve. Okay, respect. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Whatever you're imagining, that's exactly what Steve looks like.
You're right. That's what he looks like. Exactly that. Amazing.
That's why he's such a good mid-level manager.
That's why he's failed upwards to the point of mid-level manager. Incredible. And as Steve kind of like, we have this little lovely moment of the tight, super close-up shot of Steve. That's like, you know, this really fancy wonder that like a cinematographer is going to put in their reel, where it starts off with a kind of like day in the life, and it moves to Steve, and it follows him through, and it opens up to kind of show the expanse of a space, and then it closes back in to really give us that final like introspective moment of Steve kind of realizing the importance of this moment for him. That type of a shot. as Steve steps back and clears the shot, Arlie is already there.
Steve was not prepared for how suddenly this was going to happen to him.
Arlie wasn't prepared either. Arlie is listening to to this fantastic new coffee shop tune called "A Year Among the Tomes," and
Oh yeah,
I'm getting
audience.
caught up here.
This is for our audience. Just look forward. We have a bunch of AI created music, like all the other AI created content that we have going on here. But we're gonna have theme songs for everyone, and they're gonna get a little intro, like cartoon intro, for all of our characters. So that's starting to circle in the background and distract everyone. Look out! It's gonna be great.
Okay, so Arlie is Arlie's where now? In front of Steve?
In front of third Steve. First
Amazing.
gauntlet.
This is managerial Steve.
This is middle managerial. Yeah, mid manager Steve.
And are we at the cleric's tower, or this is another checkpoint before it, or this is?
This
Steve
is the
who works
cleric's.
at the
This is
tower?
Steve at the cleric's tower. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You found your way to Steve. Everyone kind of pointed you to Steve.
I want to say, for canon's sake, that in this version of things, when the previous version where Alberta and Keen had played like a bureaucratic couple in a
Yeah,
lovers'
it was
quarrel,
amazing. Yeah.
like in this version, they're off on their affair. They are not here. That's why
They're
not
totally
here.
eloping. Yeah. In this variation, this is a Thursday, and on Thursdays they go off to the apiary and they spend most of the afternoon there. Yeah. So on this,
Exactly.
in this timeline, you arrived on a Thursday. Is basically what it is. And Steve
Because I
was
used-
covering.
Yes.
Right, and Steve the PH, who knows exactly what's going on. I mean, Thursdays are the days that Steve the PH comes in and does his work, and normally does it kind of not necessarily head down, but head also is not necessarily up. We get the work done that needs to be finished, and now Steve with the PH has a decision to be made. So, armed with a sense of bureaucratic, not insouciance, but certainly perspicacity, finally lays eyes on Alric and Arlie. Hello. Yes. Hello. Welcome to the well, you know what tower you're and Steve at the PH looks down at the papers because he's like, Steve, come on, keep it together, Steve, keep it together.
Pull your,
Takes a breath.
pull your shit together, Steve. Pull your shit together, Steve.
While Steve is in that breath, Arlie's going to turn to Elric and be like, Elric, rumor has it this Steve has a PhD. I don't know in what. I think perspicacity, but I haven't fully learned what that is, but I'm going to get a book out on it.
What is
Anyway,
it?
that's an aside.
Steve has never been talked about this way before. Never mind in front of him.
It's supposed to be an
And
aside. It's meant to be. So, carry on. Claire, let it go. Carry on.
And Steve with the PH sees Arlie saying this to themselves and is just like, oh, they also have a voice in their head that tells them the terrible things that they know are truth. Okay. Now, Steve with the PH immediately says, oh, no, I'm not, I don't have a PhD. I'm Steve with a PH.
I thought you had a PhD. I've heard that you're Steve with a PhD. It's fine.
Well,
Explains-
Anyways, I'm Harley
Steve-
Candlewick the
Steve, it explains a lot of job offers that the LinkedIn sent you recently. That's basically someone was passing your name around. All of a sudden, you're getting these like job offers you're not qualified for. Just a couple things click with this. Like, oh, okay, that's where that comes from. Arlie was telling everyone I have a PhD.
It's sort of a game of telephone and you leave the tower, which is what I do as the wandering cleric. I am, of course, an forgive me forgive me if I'm about to offend you. I'm either about to offend you or inform you. Either way, I'm just as neutrally as possible stating that I am Juniper Arley Candlewick III, the Wandering Cleric of the Cleric's Tower, and I live here. And this is my friend. And I'm
So-
just gonna.
Steve with a PH shuffles the papers that they're holding. Well, let's face it, parchment. And Coy, would I have record of Arlie Juniper Candle III living here?
Oh yeah, totally. She was here for a few years actually. She arrived
Like 10 before she became the Wandering Cleric. She's in her mid
you go.
30s. She's in her mid 30s. Left society in her mid 20s.
Okay, that's either young or old, depending on who you are. Now, so I'm going through this, and is there anything in these papers that's telling me, like, why they left, or a reason for why they would be coming back?
That's a good question. Would you have been a part of, or you probably would have been too junior for like the whole
I was still a minion
actual
at that point, yeah.
Yeah. So, Arlie, of the crazy, like, bureaucratic slipping and sliding and loopholing, what is the paperwork, like, residue that you left behind in your file of your maneuver?
I think we have previously. So the reason why it's so damn dramatic is that the Wandering Cleric can only go wandering if they are a real cleric. And that is why her becoming the Wandering Cleric in this, like, Prin is this Dragonlance module is set when magic has, like, the gods and magic have kind of minimized in the world.
Yeah.
And so her
Right.
leaving
Yes.
as the Wandering Cleric means that she either has cleric powers or she found the world's craziest loophole.
Okay, sick. So,
So-
in that case, I think the best way to do this is in her file for someone like Steve with a PH, there's going to be like the approval paper of like approved to leave, and then connect like see supporting document, and the supporting document is like basically entirely redacted.
Yes. Yeah, it's like they, because everyone
fully
we want to
redacted.
keep this on the down low, but
Yeah.
she was like bureaucratically, legally, have
Yeah.
to let me leave.
Yeah, so like the approval is official, and just the supporting documents are like Arlie Candlewick black lines, and then just like
Okay, so
signature
this is-
of the head abbot.
Okay, got you. Which is very interesting because as a mid-level manager of this tower, I don't necessarily have a direct line, and I know for a fact like the person that I would have to go to in order to make sure completely, absolutely for sure to admit these to, you know, at least Arlie has these documents. I don't know about this hooded guy. I don't know.
Oh,
And the fact all of this is redacted and I don't have clearance to see it. I look at Arlie and I cautiously say, "Welcome back."
you. D with a PH and not a PhD. Are you familiar?
You don't have to. Why would you
I
say
just
that?
because it helps differentiate you from.
But not a PhD.
So now immediately, hold on, let me roll for this. Just a second. Oh yeah, I'm deeply offended.
He's such a
Okay.
jerk.
Wow. Arlie, I think
No tact. I don't understand how she was ever. in
you
the
have
pool.
deeply offended Steve with a PH, but not a PhD.
Which you keep reminding me of.
It's just that I need to remind myself that I've been wrong about you for months now. But it's okay. But at least I knew who you were.
What do you mean you've been wrong about me for
Well, I've been
months?
telling everyone that you have a PhD, and I understand that this was a grievous error of telephone. It was just simply
Okay,
meant
okay.
to differentiate you from.
Do you mind?
Yes?
I'm gonna roll for this very quickly because just the fact that you're talking about me might override the fact that I'm offended that you keep reminding me I don't have a PhD. Hold on.
This is where the dice come
No,
in.
I'm still offended.
Oh, okay, it's not quite enough. Yeah. It's amazing.
Boy, to be clear, this is another Kender, right? Like we're in the Kender world here. At this point.
No, this is
No?
it's not it's not inherently Kender. People from the Cleric's Tower, it's kind of like our version of the Night Watch. You know, it's like the Night Watch meets. Yeah, because in this world, like, people view being a lawyer as if as people in Westeros view joining the Night Watch. It's like a horrible.
I'm just trying to get a scale of what's going on here literally in terms of
It's
size.
just
Oh, in
this-
terms of
PH
scale,
with a
yeah.
PhD, is this a human or is this a elf or is this a what am I seeing?
They could be anything. Minotaur. I
Okay,
mean,
it's
there are.
kind of gone to a university library place, and I keep pointing out their lack of higher education in the place that they work. And as the daughter of the landlord of the university, who's forced to
Right.
work there
100%.
through
on
like
board
a
with that.
crazy nepotism situation.
Just trying to get a situation. Just trying to see what
Yeah.
Steve is. Steve with a PH, not with a PhD.
Yeah.
Like what is Steve? Is it like half orc?
Okay. Oh, I see what you're asking. Hey, first off, Steve has seen and heard this entire conversation you just had. Literally how you were all discussing with each other in front of me. Literally, you in front of me seeing, like, what am I looking at? What is this?
It's
Oh, I
just that
would've
I'm
put that
not
in
used to the
different
common folk
context.
listening. I'm sorry. I should get used to that. I've been wandering for a while now outside of high society, but
This is I love this is
Carry
like
on.
these classic moments of Arlie turning her back to talk to Aelric and her just considering that person not there anymore, and Aelric just being like,
Yeah.
if she treats it like that, I guess that's normal. I'll treat it like that too. And everyone else just being heavily offended, but so like intimidated by Aelric or confused by the power dynamic of Arlie that they just kind of don't call her out on it. And she's gone through this for months.
So, as a halfling and a middle
Nice.
manager, I'm used to
Nice.
not feeling as big as other people around me.
Strong choice.
And so, having heard all of this being said, all this discussion, and the thing is, because I am a middle manager here at this tower, not that I've necessarily like maybe read as much as I'd like. This is one of the reasons I don't have a PhD, but I have read certain things about the ideas of essentially multiverses. And so hearing them speak in a way that denotes that they have actual experience with this kind of thing, whereas for me, I just kind of know it to be an academic concept, is very interesting. Now, Steve with a PH starts putting some things together in his head. Is this partially why they could go around? Well, no, that's not why. That's because we need to do better with our gates. But also, is this partially why they've been able to make it through without proper identification? So Steve with the PH takes a breath and doesn't quite look Elric in the eye because, you know, they can't, what with the hood. And
And the
asks,
height differential too, because I'm quite tall
Aelric's
compared to
also
you.
like over 6 foot. Yeah.
but this is interesting. So, with the way that your hood is, and if I'm a halfling, if I'm looking up at you, I can see the underside of your jaw, can't I?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So, I look up at you and I muster my best middle manager's voice and I say, "And who are you?"
I'm just going to answer Elric unless you really want to take this and demonstrate to me another new whole learning, because I'm really handling this very well so far. It's just, do you have something? Would you like to introduce yourself, or would you like to leave it to me to bureaucratically explain where it is that you fit in? You might not like it, and I should have run it by you earlier, and I didn't. So here we are.
This is your home. Please.
So, we haven't had a wandering cleric for 300 years, right? You can see in the file that I saw you open, the one that's terribly redacted.
Yes,
one
this
there,
one right here.
cleric.
Yes.
Yes, so you may find in Eric, you may certainly find, the language used to describe who Elric is to me a little outdated, but essentially, he is fulfilling the role of the Wandering Cleric's henchman. So this is my henchman. I brought a henchman home to the Cleric's Tower, and that's why he's allowed to be here. Elric, if you are not familiar with this word, I think we should talk about it later. If you are, I'm very sorry.
I can roll for it, but I'm guessing I probably don't know the word.
Henchman? Probably. No, we're playing in that time. This is the whole point of this montage, was to skip over these types of misunderstandings, so you fully don't understand.
Yeah, because I didn't understand what was the thing you just said earlier. Not democratic. What did you say it was? The very first time. That's like politics, but not politics. It started with a D. It was very. Yeah, it was diplomacy. There it is. Sorry, I have either had too much caffeine or not enough caffeine tonight.
Love it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So.
Right.
So
the Wandering
henchman,
Cleric
no.
does get to have a henchman. On account of the Wandering Cleric must be protected, and the Wandering Cleric is kind of always known to be sort of feeble and ancient and learned, which are things that are currently up for debate about my character. But I've got the seal, clunk,
and what are you clunking this on? Because there's no glass partition between us. It's just me holding papers.
She just goes to hold it and then just drops it. And it just swings into her, and she wins herself. So I've got that bit of legitimacy. Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Now, Steve at the PH reaches out, and after it's like clunked against your sternum, I reach my hands out, my tiny halfling hands, and I'm kind of like, may I?
Yes, this is what I did want. You can bite it or whatever it is that you're.
Why would I?
Pretty long lanyard. It's a retractable one, so you should be able to just.
Oh, okay. So then I do retract it, and I hold it. Kind of. I do that thing where like I've got it kind of like
a violin
the way that someone would like hold like a phone in the 80s, and then I'm going through my papers to make sure the sigil matches what I have in my documents. I find the right document, I take the sigil out, and I compare them, and I look at you, and I know you're the daughter of the person who runs this place, but I have to make sure. The sigil does check out, and so I gently hand it back to you. And I'm trying my best because I have tiny hands on a tiny body.
The two of you are almost the same height, actually. I think
we are.
Arlie, yeah, because Arlie's like the same height as a halfling.
Okay,
yeah.
Both tiny. I think Kendra, you're a halfling,
great.
so we're both tiny. We're both.
So I hand it back to you, and it is normal height for both of us. And okay, so this checks out. The redacted stuff, like I know, as I said, I'm not going to be able to go higher up. Essentially, the ladder. That would take a lot of time, and I have a feeling that you want to get in soon, and right now. So
Would you
again,
like to be let in on the redacted stuff.
Arlie is a freaking maniac. I love it. Arlie's just like, yo, you want to be in on the top secret shit right here? Sorry.
Well, I mean, that would be deeply illegal. I'm not, but as the owner of the information, I suppose we could.
Should anyone come for you and the illegality of our actions and what is about to transpire here, I would seek
Sorry,
claim
what's about
that-
to transpire here?
Oh, just if you consent to the information that will be the supporting documentation regarding the legitimacy of who I am and the Wandering Cleric's status. Basically, the info you don't have due to its redacted nature.
Do you
Up to
have
you.
the required paperwork for me to understand what this information is?
Oh, no. No. You'll just
And
simply
this is
have
a
to...
terrible answer for a middle manager.
So,
And I say, well, I'm so
Cartman, you're
sorry,
looking
but
for
then
redacted
I'm
info
afraid there's
is-
nothing I can do for you. And immediately Steve the PH turns away. But you can tell there's a pause in their step. Like they want you to say something else. They want something a little more. They clearly, there's something that you've done and said that has interested them.
Shit.
They're
can roll-
shuffling their papers.
You can roll
standing in the
insight
doorway,
if you
kind
want to
of-
roll
Sorry, let
insight.
me see if I can do, like, kind of looking over their shoulder, like,
Yeah.
I think that you show a ton of potential, which is why I told everyone that you had a PhD. Because I truly, firmly believed that you're more than capable of having a PhD in what I guess is your passion, middle management. And if this is not the place to excel in middle management, there isn't a place on the face of Kryn. This is the place. So, it is
Now-
my act. Yep.
Steve with the PH turns back to you. Because they're like, well, I had once dreamed of a place called Middle Earth where I feel like I would quite excel, but would it be possible? And Steve with the PH has never done this before, and once again looks up and sees the underside of Elric's jaw. Like something clearly is going on here that Steve the PH doesn't understand, but Steve the PH also understands opportunity. That's how they got to middle management in the first place.
Preach.
So, Steve the PH looks at you and is like, go on.
Right. So, Arlie is like, could you just hold this symbol again? On one side you have the cleric's tower insignia, then flip it over. I know it's like a kind of like a leather pie shaped disc. Now flip it over, and you'll see the world tree, tree of knowledge, tree of Zivelin. We've got a tree very similar, sort of a bonsai type thing for a garden. The
And now,
entire-
obviously, Coy, this is the question for you. So, obviously, I know what this means, clearly, right?
Zivelin?
Coy, you're muted.
Big.
You're on mute, my darling.
Love it when the DM can just be on mute because the role play is.
That's my favorite. Because we're playing role playing games. Give me a D20. I'm gonna say DC on this is 13. To remember.
This is for me, right?
If you know Zivelin, yeah. If you know of this god that she's talking about.
Yo, 17, so I do know.
Okay, yeah, you've done your readings.
Yes. Yes, I'm aware. And there is that niggling feeling in the back of my head that, like, maybe I could get a PhD.
And then
Maybe
Arlie
I
is
am smart enough.
going to low key under her breath cast thaumaturgy so that this things that thaumaturgy I can do very minor illusions to things. So the one I'm proposing is that I make the holy symbol glow.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean,
Amazing. Go for it.
and so I'm gonna make it glow in Steve the PH hands.
Love it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I don't think I can make it like I get like glow in a like sparkly, the way that Zivlin always shows up with that golden knowledge kind of.
Okay.
This is showing up, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Steve the PH is concerned. This is a goddamn sign.
That's the redacted bit. That's the secret. That's what you'd have to go over to the
literally-
third tower, to the third floor, to go get requested access to. It's a whole thing. I've saved you, and I truly believe your superiors are going to be very impressed with both your interrogative capacities and your thoroughness. Really like the Wandering Cleric handed me a glowing god medallion.
I kind of missed that last bit. However, I don't, again, because we're both short, I don't look up at Arlie, but I look at them. And I say, like, do you think maybe my superiors won't be my superiors for much longer?
Are you interested? I am.
I'm gonna snap cut. We are snapping cut. That is a perfect ending for that moment. That is a wonderful ending to that scene. And we're gonna snap 18 plus months into the future. Aelric and Arlie have become wonderful, if not fully embraced members of the Cleric's Tower.
There's a whole song. There's a whole song that Sean just got the AI to make about this journey.
There's a whole song that everyone will hear in the in-between time. That is the montage of the time. I have pictures. I'm actually going to just upload a picture here to the group chat so that Kat can see a little bit of what's going on. We have some pictures of Arlie and Aelric in the library. That was a very fun, inspiring, just bringing inspiration to learning and how anyone can still learn. There's Arlie and Aelric walking through the library there. I want to go
Oh my
18.
goodness, look at them!
Right, the two,
Oh.
the short little Arlie and big old Aelric. The two of them are very sweet together. I have actually a lot of AI generated images of the two of them together. I'll put them on the
But now I've-
Instagram.
I've now dropped in this whole thing where she's been like, "This is my henchman." The whole
This is that's just official henchman.
I also, that was such a very fun bit about, like,
Canon.
you as, like, the last Dragonborn, and it's like, do you know what henchman means? And you're like, I understand what condescension means. Like,
Oh, we were just having the scene of Arlie and Aelric walking towards the Cleric's Tower. And
oh my
this
God.
isn't for the group. This isn't for the live chat. This is for just the players. Join the Patreon and see these images that we're sharing. But that's a little, fun moment.
or
of-
make them for yourself. It's from AI.
It's AI, exactly. Everyone owns them. No one owns them. Ownership is a lie. Yeah, the laws are just threats. I want to go.
As a lawyer, may I say, laws are just threats.
I'm a simple country lawyer. I may be a.
Now I may be a simple country threatening man.
I may be a simple, intimidating yokel, but I say that. Okay, 18 months pass. Arlie and Aelric.
Sorry, yeah. Walk through the story, yes.
This is great. Arlie and Aelric spend some time. Aelric kind of acclimatizes himself with the culture of the larger world of Solamnia. There's a lot of reading of books. There is a lot of like furthering their connection. No one does an official like back end level up during this period, so it isn't like anyone's gaining spells or anything like this. But there is a development and kind of gaining just understanding of culture, and this is the end point of that montage, so that we cannot play with those silly "what do you mean by" type stuff that Aelric would otherwise be prone to. But I think that in the end,
He eventually learns what henchman means, and is like, well, that is offensive. Okay.
okay, let's play the scene where Aelric discovers the meaning of henchman.
Minute.
And scene. Okay, wonderful. That was great.
Carry all your bags. Just kidding.
Just to sting to the camera like The Office. That's and scene. Good. Yeah, that's it. That's all we need. Amazing. But I do think that we're looking at like this 18 months later. What happened was there was actually a letter that was received, and it wasn't. There's so. I'm gonna do a little DMing here, but with Harry Potter. Harry Potter, he receives a special letter that only special boys receive, and those special boys get to go to a special school, right? That's Harry Potter. Now, what happened with Arlie and Aelric and the rest of our party, which was the thing that drove them together, was a funeral. It was a funeral for a famous adventurer called Ispin, and it was an invitation to his funeral. That's what the letter that arrived to everyone that pulled them back for the beginning of what is now our story. But this was not a letter that was sent off like Harry Potter. It wasn't just sent to only these 5 adventurers, the most important people in the world. It was sent to everyone that was in Ispin's Rolodex. This was everyone that Ispin had ever talked to, that ever knew his name, that he'd ever spent time with. Like, there was a magical accountant in the background being like, all right, and this is how we would just send that letter there. Very good, sir. So when he died, hundreds of thousands of letters went out across all of Solamnia. And they all were like, come to Ispin's funeral. It's going to be a total bash. It's up in the northeastern corner of the kingdom. Just past that old province that's now kind of haunted because the owner of it, fought in that war 300 years ago and ended up becoming like a ghost. And anyways, it's past there, and it's just south of that other province that was like ground zero of that like celestial atomic bomb that's now just like a magical wasteland. It's like right in that little corner between those two provinces. Just on the northeastern side, a little further east is Northland, where, if you're keeping up with the news, there's, rumors of
It's
an
a
invasion.
very, very interesting name for a place that's slightly further east, that it's Northland.
It's Northland, yeah, but it's like Norther and Easterler. Right? That's navigational speak, right? Yeah, that's... My father sailed across the Atlantic Ocean by himself. So yeah, Northland. There are rumors that Northland has been invaded by a evil army that no one really knows any details about. So the place that he's being buried, that Ispin is being buried, is the least, I should say, desirable place that anyone in the Kingdom of Solamnia would want to go. It is very isolate. It is very dangerous. It is dangerous even before the rumors of war just beyond the kingdom. Which there are very many rumors right now. So many people in the Cleric's Tower got letters who had either like done basic accounts for Ispin after he had gone into a dungeon and like killed a lich and collected a bunch of treasure, and then that treasure had to be accounted for. And some of the paintings had been like, they've actually been actively, they were taken unfairly generations ago and they had to be returned. The Cleric's Tower was responsible for all sort of things. Some of the caseworkers who still are at the tower, have worked on multiple Ispin files. So many of these letters arrived notifying the tower of Ispin's death, of his funeral, and of everyone who was notified, only 5 people showed up. In the end, only Bubo the Owl, Harold the Halfling, Thaddeus Turnpike the Wizard, Aelric the Dragonborn, and Arlie the Kender were the only 5 who arrived for the funeral.
Just because I have a feeling I'm going to be playing at least 3 of these people, can you remind me of the names?
No, so that's actually Legion was... That was the party.
Oh, we're not having a scene. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, this is all the letter that brought the party together was not a letter that was only sent to the 5 party members. It was a letter that was sent to everyone, and only the 5 party members were crazy enough to go. It's like come on down to the center of Civil War. We're going to show you a great time. And everyone's like, thanks, no thanks. But I'm saying this because it's common knowledge when Arlie and Aelric finally pack up and start deciding like they want to leave around the Cleric's Tower where they're going. They're going to a very dangerous place. This is a very remote place in the country. We're looking at a continent that is around the size of Europe, and it would be kind of like going from southern Spain into Finland. It's like very far away.
Yeah, rough journey.
Yeah, like through quite a lot of stuff. And so it makes sense that in those final days before Arlie and Aelric set off for the last time, potentially, maybe the last time, that they found themselves, maybe intentionally, bumping into Steve with a PH.
Before we can launch into Steve with the PH, can I just interject something here that I brought up to you like many weeks ago?
Many weeks ago.
I'm sure Vicavar can clock me on this, but remember I said that there's the opportunity for characters to learn each other's languages if they spend enough immersive time with those characters. So this would be that time, this broad swath, this will be your judgment across those 18 months of whether or not Aelric could pick up the Kender tongue, at least on a rudimentary level. But basically it talks about it on the ancillary rules that I found, like in weeks, not in months or years, which seems short
so it makes
to me,
sense.
but
that makes sense.
A year and a
it's
half.
at a different time scale.
A year and a half. So I just wanted to throw that in there so we can get that into the canon as well somehow. If you're okay with it.
If we want to weave it into the canon, Steve with a PH.
I'm wondering if you want to weave that into the canon. This is just my suggestion here, especially if, according to the rules, it only takes like a few weeks to be able to like speak something. Is this like the Duolingo version of being able to speak Cantor?
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
It sounds
what they based
weird,
that
but
on.
you can get your idea across.
Yeah, I don't know what they based that on, but
I love
we
the
will
idea.
hopefully...
I really love the idea of Steve with a PH, halfling, we've established, but in the tower, not uneducated. Clearly has the potential to pursue a PhD. I could see very well that Steve with a PH, one of the languages they picked up was Kender. One of those polyglots.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, yeah.
I think Steve with a PH has actually been contacted by the Scholarly Council based on the fact that he so quickly clocked that. Okay, and you can tell me if Steve with a PH would have gone for this or no, but Steve with a PH clocked that magic is returning, and no one's supposed to know that, but somehow when Steve with a PH did a very good, very thorough job of IDing people on their entryway, clocked that magic was returning to the land, and I think that
when I was holding your medallion and that thaumaturgy happened, something also changed in Steve with the PH's tiny little halfling heart.
So I think
I would agree with you on that.
Steve with a PH has been contacted by the council to do further managerial training.
All right, Steve.
For middle manager.
Well, okay, so Steve, Steve, you're inspired. You've worked your way up. At a certain point, you got a couple of letters, 2 separate letters from different institutions, and you had to make a difficult choice. Steve with a PH was set with a difficult choice. One letter was from the head management institution of Solamnia, where you could learn how to be the greatest manager your potential could offer.
It's just like a tower it's just like a tower down the road. It's just down down like a hedgerow from the cleric's tower.
Yeah, the
It's
other.
Kind of like a pyramid scheme, man.
Still a big deal.
It's a legit big
Tony
deal.
Robbins nonsense we're entering in here.
No, this is real. This is real. This is it's been 300 years of effectively early pre-industrial capitalism we're building. It took Europe a while as well. And the other letter that you receive is from the Mage's Tower, saying that they are aware that you have discovered magic is still alive in this realm, and they respect your intellectual passions and curiosity, and they invite you to join and train in the ways of the arcane. To be a manager or to be a wizard?
You're a manager.
I mean,
Harry.
only one of them has monetary benefits.
One feeds your pocketbook, one feeds your soul. So you have to choose.
Well, also, if you're a wizard, you can just transmogrify objects. That is a spell.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But that's if you're a good one, and then will they stay transmogrified?
That's true.
but-
That's true. That's in wizard school.
Steve, with a PH. As always known, Steve is not spelled with a PH. PH is used to be the middle of a full word. But Steve's name is Steve. And he is who he is. Maybe he was always meant to be in the... No, fuck it! Steve's becoming a wizard! Right.
Yes. Hell yes. Hell yes.
Does word travel that Steve has accepted a position at the
Yes!
Wizard Tower? Because Arlie is going to congratulate the
Fucking hell
heck out of
yes.
Steve.
Word travels. And so the scene that we have, the parting scene that we have is, fuck it. You know what? This deserves to be on a train station or train platform. So we're on a fancy steampunk train platform because it's the train
More
station.
like a Steve Punk platform.
Steve Punk. After tonight, it's one of those platforms where the trains come on both sides, and you're like in the center. And one train's going to the capital city of Solamnia, where Steve is headed to the Mage Tower to learn magic. And the other direction is going to the northeast corner to Vogler and to Ispin's funeral. And Arlie and Aelric got their bags, got their stuff. They're going on to the... And who do they see on the platform waiting for a train? Steve with a PH.
And
turned
Steve
to-
with the PH nervously has like again, let's do like full Harry Potter styles. I've got like a cart with like my trunk. I have it's not an owl, but it's definitely not an owl. Like there's something in a cage, but it feels weird, but let's go with it.
A vulture. It's a
owl,
vulture.
Yeah, I was going to say vulture. I was like an owl vulture. Like an owl bear, but it's an owl vulture.
It's a silent vulture of night.
So I'm making my way through, and because I'm a little halfling, with a lot of like, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, making my way through. And there's something, because suddenly the sun is blocked from my view, and I look up and I'm like, I know that jawline.
I want to clock Steve with a PH, and I want to turn to Elric and say in Draconic, and Arlie was trying to get that. I'm going to play, now that I've heard Draconic a bunch, I'm going to say that Arlie has tried to get the accent down, and she just can't do it. So she's like,
Amazing.
Dos, that, Dos clock, that, that little thing. When I first made you my henchman.
And my ears prick up at the term henchman because this is actually the only time I've heard it outside of you mentioning it when I met you those months ago.
you'd hear it in Old English, but I mean the equivalent of Old English because I'm speaking Draconic, but I'm gonna say that like you've got the ear. You've just been in the space for long. You've got an ear. Sorry, I'm being a DM. Look at me go, Koi, take over.
No.
Arrogant.
We're sharing.
No, I've
our
literally played
stories.
like 3 different characters, none of which I have character sheets for. It's okay. We're living our lives here. Don't worry.
So I turn to so you clock Elric. I ask Elric if he clocks you.
Elric definitely.
Oh, that's true. Vikovar reminded me that the Draconic is now officially canon. The Sean Connery accent.
That's what someone said, but I have not been playing it that
True.
way. But
That's how I played your uncle. But your uncle had a very
Yeah.
specific accent. Your uncle spoke
That's right,
with an
because
accent.
I don't have a Sean Connery accent in my. I've never even tried a Scottish dialect, much less a Sean Connery version.
This is a man who is in a Hollywood film. You played an Irishman. You studied for months to get your Irish perfect, and then they cut every single line you had. I think from the final.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, that was what that was. Boom.
Irish accent. Like I can do like a really
Not
bad
just
Cork
Irish,
accent from having lived there.
Sligo. Like I had
very
Sean-
specific.
Sean Fox from Sligo. He like helped me with it for weeks. It was awesome of him via Zoom. But off we go.
But no, literally, once again, this is the full conversation that has happened. And I, Steve with the PH, have just been here. Like, my train is coming soon, but I'm like, once again, they are talking about things that, I mean, I don't understand, but now that I'm becoming a wizard, hopefully one day I will.
I'll get it.
So Elric walks over to Steve with a PH, and I hear you're on your own adventure now.
And you know, the reaction that Lucille Bluth has to Jean Parmesan in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
That's basically exactly what happens with Steve with the PH. I go like, and I don't jump up because I'm not rude. I still have some middle manager tendencies, but I do hug your leg, and I look up at you, and I'm just like, you can talk.
Oh God, did I fail to make that clear? Yes. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
I'm just like, I would know that voice anywhere, and I can't, because I've got a cart. I can't quite turn all the way around, but I can like lean on it, and I try to be a cool guy, but Steve with a PH is not a cool guy. That's why Steve is spelled with a PH. But I just kind of lean on it and turn around to see you, and I'm just like, well, fancy meeting you here.
Dude, I've had this thought, so I've been looking for you to congratulate you on your news, and then I'd heard you left, and I thought we'd just missed you, and like, what a bummer, but I was going to send a letter one day, and it would get there inevitably, but I was going to say, I'm so excited, you actually can be Steve with a PhD if you specialize in divination.
Well,
It's just
realize that
it's just a bit for my own.
It's great.
But don't limit
You know
yourself
what
to
was
just
a mistake?
divination.
You know
It
what
would have
was
to
a
be like
mistake?
Steve with a PH in divination. It's not the same thing. But the point is that I've always seen potential in you, and you're going for it.
Well, first off, jokes are always better when you explain them. But
I agree.
also,
Yes, most of my jokes have to be explained, which is how I know that they're so good.
but you're not wrong. I didn't realize that Steve with a PH could also be Steve with a PhD. And both of you changed my life. I can hear the train start pulling into the station. I hear that chugga chugga chugga. Yes, exactly. And it's the sound not only of future but of possibility. And I'm seeing both of you here in a way that there is something special about having one's life changed by one simple moment. And I also, Steve with a PH, recalls the first time I met you when you were speaking as though you lived in a world that was either above or under the reality that I had lived in. So even though Steve with a PH has never experienced a multiverse, somehow, Steve with a PH, because of both of you, has figured out how to take charge of at least the one life that he has.
God, I'm so glad we ran into Steve with a PH. It's really taking pallor off the fact that we're on our way to a funeral. What did you say, Ulrich?
Sorry, what?
The sort of hole that's cast emotionally. As we're on our way to a funeral. Don't worry about it. It's the opposite train. But it's just so wonderful hearing your life sort of expand instead of sort of end abruptly, which is what we're gonna go engage with. But you are on.
There's a whistle that says, "This train for Capital City, Jasper's Mill, and the Magical Tower. All aboard!"
And my middle manager instincts start trying to kick in, because I'm like, well, what if I can somehow make the best of both of these situations? Obviously, I have to catch my train, but obviously I want to catch up with these people. However, if I'm going to be a wizard, I can't be a middle manager anymore, and there is no meeting in the middle. I have to meet the train, and I have to leave these people who have changed my life. So I kind of nod and do a little bow as if to like say like sorry for your loss. Not entirely sure if I did that correctly, but I also have this cart in front of me, and I have to make my way to the train. And in Draconic, I say to Alaric, "Nice language," and then just go.
Amazing. And the two of you just sit there and watch as Steve with the PH runs to the train, gets help from a conductor, not the conductor, but one of the attendants, who throws some luggage in. A half orc who could just grab them with one hand. Boom, 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 boom. And little Steve jumps on and then holds on to the door, is able to wave as it's and the steam starts to pick up before the actual magic that moves the train, because the train's moved by magic, not by steam. Steam is a stupid propellant. It's not very efficient.
Well, as all of that is transpiring, Aelric just kind of says casually to Arlie, "I guess that's 3 that can speak Draconic now."
It might just not be a dead language for much longer.
I feel like it's a 90s like and like just a little not a dead language any longer. Next week on Full House.
I was trying to give Steve with a P a callback, maybe later on in the campaign.
I love it, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Sean Connery. It might just not be. I can't do it.
It might not be. Ah. Well, you also now have, basically, I now have, whenever next time Thad gets contacted by the tower, it could be, we can always hear back from Steve with a PH. Indeed.
You know, and I have a crazy feeling Steve with the PH wouldn't mind hearing back from you. Also, Steve with the PH is going to find out very quickly that PH, as spelled as Steve, is not pronounced in Draconic at all. Might become a little bit offended, but we'll find out. I don't know. Maybe.
Future moments of Steve with a PH. Come back next week.
Steve at the beginning of Steve. That you're putting the H in the wrong place.
The sorcerer who speaks Draconic, like, "I only speak the original language of magic. The Draconic language of magic." Okay. Thank you everyone for watching. This was incredible. What
is that
an
it?
that's we're at 10:20. That's pretty much we got bills to pay. I got advertisers to secure because we don't have any yet. They will be coming, right? Why not? Just in step with the audience. I should have written something. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sean Connery will be here next time.
Then come back next week for Sean Connery and Kat Letwin. One of those two will be here. That's a promise. That is a
Sean
coy
Connery will be back
promise.
next week.
Yeah, because Kat has stuff to do. She's very busy. Once again, love. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Claire. This is an incredible. Thank you,
Let's hear it
audience.
for Claire and Kat, like carrying the heavy water of this show, man. They were on top of that. It was
A round of applause.
Two-handed drama the entire time, man. So good, so good.
I think, can we give it up? Honestly, frankly, also for us, let's say that. But this entire team has been lovely. This was my first time here doing this. I'm so excited to come back next week and a couple weeks after that. And y'all haven't even met my full character yet.
Oh,
It's
I'm
true.
so
I-
excited.
looking
I'm
forward to
so
it, yeah.
hyped.
Yeah, and that's one of the fun things about not letting the players know who you are going to be ahead of time is that by not revealing you today, we get to add 2 more people to join us next week, Michael and Sam, so that the reveal will be oh so sweet,
Yeah.
so sweet.
And
As
I'm so sorry if for anyone who's enjoying the stream this evening. I am afraid to say that my main character is not named Steve. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm gutted.
Mendoza. Okay.
Damn you! Damn you!
Been cheated. I've been cheated 3 hours of setup for that betrayal. How dare you? We already hit our rule of 3, so that's the thing. Like, if we had only had 2 Steves, your character would have had to be Steve. It would have been Legion aspect of Steve. That's 100%. But we had our 3rd Steve, so we're good. We got our comedy covered. We hit our rule of 3. We're going to be on to, as Kat is most known for, very dark drama horror will be the next 3 weeks. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know you were making a joke about that, but that's actually like aside from comedy, that's kind of my jam. So I am genuinely excited to do that.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you our audience. Thank you Kat. Thank you Sean. Thank you Claire. Thank you Sam. Hope you were doing well. Thank you Keen. Hope you were doing well. And we'll be seeing everyone next week because in this game, you can not only watch, you're Legion. Oh, that was the name of the thing. Hit the button so it looks cool.